If we're trying to basically get you a good house at a good price and avoid all kind of costly mistakes, you can see there's a lot of opportunities in here that if we can get a good working relationship with the other parties in the transaction, we can save everybody time, effort, energy, money, all of those things. All right, Californians and all of you that are watching our videos, are you relocating to Reno, Nevada, or at least thinking about it? It can transform your lifestyle, but it's crucial to know the specific details about housing and living conditions to avoid costly mistakes. Reno's residential market offers diverse options from downtown condos to sprawling suburban homes to living on multi-acre properties, and we even get questions about buying land and building a home from the ground up. And each of it has its own set of pros and cons. Without a deep understanding of Reno's residential specifics and how real estate transactions and contracts are different here from any other places, how buyer representation is about to change, you risk overpaying for a home, facing unexpected neighborhood challenges, or missing out on the perfect community for your needs. So let's dive in and let you know how to proceed and to proceed with caution. Thanks for watching, and if you're enjoying the kind of content we're putting out there every week, please subscribe to the channel so you can catch all our other great content. So here are the biggest concerns and questions that we as a team get when potential buyers are trying to relocate here to Reno, Northern Nevada, and as far as what to look for in a home and a neighborhood, and how to figure out what price to offer, and all the many details that go into our residential real estate contracts. What else you might need to know to make sure that you're protected in every way. And remember, this is a very big deal. It's a very emotional deal, and we'll hold your hand all the way through the process. It's never too early to get the process started. And we have buyers actually moving to a home any day now that started this process over a year ago. So it's always good to get prepared as early as you can. But even before we get the process started, we have some questions for you. And I call it our buyer consultation appointment. And it's best we can do it by phone, we can do it by Zoom, or even better, we can do it in person. So we can start asking you all sorts of questions that are gonna be able to help better serve you. And some of the questions that we wanna talk about, we go way more in depth. For example, have you ever been to Reno before? How well do you know the neighborhoods and the price points that you wanna be in? And the reason we ask some of that is many people have come to Reno. I'm sure you visited many cities, but when you look somewhere to live permanently, it's a lot different than you're just visiting. You're just thinking about moving there. So we have a ton of other questions. Things like, are schools important? When do you need to actually be here? Are you relocating for a job? Are you trying to get kids here at the start of the school year? And the most important one, of course, regarding your budget, what price point are you looking in? Things like, are you cash? Do you need a mortgage? Do you need a great lender? And there's so many more things that we want to talk about in this initial meeting. But what it does is allows us to, one, get you prepared, set up the proper home search, get all your finances in order, and do all those amazing things that you need to do prior to ever getting in a car and going to look for houses. So one thing I know for sure is this: when we have these buyer consultation meetings and we get you real organized, again, whether you're thinking about doing something this year or later this year, or even you're not sure a year or two from now, here's one thing I absolutely know. I've never had a buyer say to me, hey, I don't necessarily care if I overpay for a home. I don't really care about the home inspections or the appraisal. And so that is just not something that happens. So what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna sit down, we're gonna talk about what we need to do to structure that offer, how to properly protect yourself to make sure you can, again, avoid these costly mistakes that sometimes people make when they're not properly prepared in order to go out and relocate and buy that house here in Northern Nevada. All right, so number one is what to look for when you're buying a home. So when we actually get a buyer in a car, and we go out and we start opening doors for you, we start looking at homes, the things that I want you to look for are completely different than things I want to look for. So when we go there, I want you to be looking at the flooring, the cabinets, the counters, the floor plan of the house. Can you see, does this house meet the needs of you individually or for your family? Do you need a big yard? Are you concerned about the schools? I want you to think about, can I live here? When I'm walking around the house, I'm thinking about all the things that we need to do in order to structure that offer. So I'm looking at the condition, especially things like the systems of the house. So I'm starting to look at air conditioners, water heaters, your furnace, the appliances in the property. Are all the windows in good shape? Or is there, we get moisture between the panes in our windows. It's something that happens here a lot more than in other areas. And so I'm starting to look at things that we need to write into the offer that might be important that I don't really want you to concern yourself with. Those are things that I want to look at. And when we do that, it leads me right into item number 2, which are inspections. In our contracts, and again, you can go down into the show notes. We have our buyer's guide that we offer to you guys all the time. And it says right there, there's a sample of the contract, and there's a whole page regarding just inspections. So if you were to go out and buy a house like the one I live in, which is just a South Meadows home that is less than 10 years old, and it basically just has stucco, tile, and nothing too exciting, we always start off with the same 3 inspections. We do a home inspection, we do a pest inspection, and we have someone come out and look at the heating and air conditioning. And from there, once we do those type of inspections, then the inspector can tell us, do we need to have an electrician, a plumber, a flooring guy, a window company, a roofer? We can always add on these additional inspections if they're necessary, But that's where we typically start. Now, if we're looking at older homes, then we start talking about things, and it's pretty rare you see these anymore, but some of them have oil tank heaters, and we have to have a person come in that can take a look at that. You might be in some of these outlying areas, and you have things like wells, and you want to talk about the water quality and the water quantity. And then we also want to have somebody look at making sure there's enough water pressure and that all the equipment and the holding tank for that water are in good shape. You might be on a septic tank, and it might need to be pumped and inspected, and we want to make sure that the leach field is in good shape. And so there's all kinds of other inspections. You might need a survey. You might need, some people here even will do radon inspections. So we have lots of inspections that we do here because we have a wide variety of different properties that we do that in many areas people don't have. I know in California, we get a lot of people here asking about termites. And in all my years helping buyers and sellers, I've only seen termites come up on an inspection 2 times, both very minimal. And I don't even know if I asked all my realtor friends if there's ever been a house tented here. So you just have to know. Lean into the real estate agent, lean into us, because again, things are different in different parts of the country, different areas, and what we do here may not be what you're used to, where you're coming from. We're going to address all that as we're focusing on these offers that we're writing. So if you're someone who's thinking about moving or relocating to Northern Nevada, go down below, hit the link. We have a great buyer's guide that walks you through the beginning process of what you need to know about moving to Northern Nevada. So go check it out. So item number 3 is homeowners associations and the pros and cons of homeowners associations. So there are lots of different kinds. Obviously, if you live in a condo or a townhome, you're absolutely going to have one. Lots of different neighborhoods in Reno have them, and whether they are just gated with a person, what the amenities are, whether there's pools, clubhouse, tennis courts, pickleball courts, events, calendars, then you got to make sure that one, what are the fees? Make sure that you get what's called the resale package the seller has to provide to us as buyers so that we can look over the health of the HOA. We want to make sure that their budget's in good shape. We want to make sure their finances are in good shape. We want to make sure they're taking care of common areas and whatever other things they might need to do. Because what you don't want to have happen is all of a sudden you get some sort of major assessment that you were not aware of a year or 2 after you move into a property. So those are all documents and things that we can look at, that we can look over with you. Then for those you buying, especially in condos and townhomes, and you want to buy it as an investment property, does it even allow renters? I know we have a couple of people that we do property management for right now that we're actually selling condos for them because those communities became too heavily on the renter side versus the owner side. So they let those go. And if you're someone thinking about buying maybe a short-term rental and doing an Airbnb, those are not allowed to happen in all different parts of town. So again, these are all the questions and all the things that we want to address in that initial consultation meeting that we have with you, so that when we sit down and we walk you through the offer, and we can do that on a blank offer, so you can sort of get used to what we do here versus where you're coming from somewhere else. And there are definitely some pros of HOAs as well. I live in an HOA. I like the fact that in my neighborhood, paint colors, maintenance, landscaping needs to be taken care of. Somebody can't park their boat or RV on my street for 6 months at a time. So there are pros. I know some people are for them, some people are against them. At the end of the day, that you understand all the details about the HOA. So number 4 is the finance page. And on the first, basically 2 pages of our offer, there's a whole section on there that talks about the financing. So if you're a cash buyer, we want to show proof of funds. Some people are cash buyers, but they got a home to sell in order to have that cash. So on that first page, it talks about what type of loan, what type of down payment, what type of earnest money. And again, these are all things that we want to talk about, because especially on page 2 and 3, where we talk about the time frames for getting the appraisal done and the loan approval finalized, and do you have a home to sell? So we were just talking about this in my team the other day about contingent offers. And if you're a seller, typically what people watching these videos are moving here from other locations. If you have a home to sell, your offers here become a lot stronger if your home is for sale. But we have people that want to write offers that home is not listed for sale. Then you have people that's homes are listed for sale, but they don't have an accepted offer. Then you have people that are for sale that do have an accepted offer, and they know when their closing date is going to be. And obviously, the closer you get to that closing date, and if you've already had inspections and appraisals and all those things done on your house, the stronger and better your offer is going to be on this side. So on those first few pages, we're addressing all of those things. And again, we're doing all that research on the houses we're looking at, so we can figure out, hey, here's what we think you should offer and what the best way to structure all that financing topics of a good offer are for. So again, we can afford having expenses happen that you don't really need to have happen for you. So on the bottom of the first page of our offer, we always have to pick a closing date. And so some of the things, again, we want to talk about in the initial meeting are, if you're a renter, how many more months do you have on your lease? If that lease expires, will they let you go month to month? I know a lot of times if you do go month to month, the rent becomes more expensive. If you're a seller and you're selling somewhere else in another community, we want to talk to your realtor. We want to know where you are in that contingency process, how long is it going to take for your home to sell, those kind of things, so we can explain it all to a potential seller that's going to accept an offer from us. And then the other thing we want to talk about with them is, are there ways we can avoid, both you as the buyer and a seller, to avoid moving twice? So of course, if you have to move and you have to put your stuff in a storage unit and maybe rent an apartment for a month and then move a second time, or if a seller can basically sell their home, hang there for a while and move right from where they're selling into their new house. These are things where we can avoid big costs for both buyer and seller just by having a good conversation, trying to figure out a date and a closing time, whether it's having a 5-day rent back after closing, whatever we have to do to make those things work. And I always call these are inexpensive things that a lot of times can get your offer accepted that somebody else's offer won't, because you're more flexible with your timeframes. We, again, just had this happen where we closed on a deal. The seller had a 7-day rent back because my client was moving from a different part of the country. They were able to then move right from their house because they closed. Now they have their money. They were able to close on their other house, and they took a week to move. And then my client just moved in a couple days ago, and it worked out great for both parties. And that is part of the reason we were able to get our offer accepted. If we're trying to basically get you a good house at a good price and avoid all kind of costly mistakes, you can see there's a lot of opportunities in here that if we can get a good working relationship with the other parties in the transaction, we can save everybody time, effort, energy, money, all of those things, so that, again, you can get the house you want in the area you want and all the details that you want, and make it so that everybody wins in this transaction. If you have questions about these things, we're not going to pressure you in order to try to get you to buy or move sooner. We want to get you all the information, and the sooner we can contact you and get this plan started, whether you are 3, 6, 12 months or even longer out, it's super beneficial to us and to you, because, again, a lot of you that are watching these videos have either never been to Reno or don't know a lot about what it actually might be to live here, and the more we can prep you on those things, the better. So if you want to learn more about what it's like to live in Northern Nevada, what it might cost to be here, check out our video that we did about all things cost of living in our area.